TruthSeekah and or its affiliates are not responsible for any strange phenomena that may occur during or after listening to this podcast, which may include the following: heightened senses of awareness, psychic abilities, UFO sightings, alien contact, time loss, out-of-body experiences, ringing in the ears, ESP, lucid dreaming, increased synchronicities, astral projection, telepathy, stronger intuition, levitation, miraculous healings, and or remote viewing. Please be advised to listen at your own discretion.
Won't you come and take me away? I just wanna be with you. Won't you come and take me away? To a place to walk on troubled seas, faith to stand when I don't believe. I just wanna be with you. Won't you come and take me away? I just wanna be with you. Won't you come?
You are now locked into the TruthSeekah podcast.
Gargoyles, psychics, everything's ungodly. Dark savage.
Streaming live at TruthSeekah.com.
She's not a Christian.
Give it up, y'all.
Your portal to the paranormal, esoteric, and all things spiritual.
She's tampering in dark savage stuff.
And now, your host, TruthSeekah.
Yo, what's up, ladies and gentlemen? I'm your host, TruthSeekah. This is the TruthSeekah podcast. Happy New Year to everybody hanging out. I hope this year brings you joy, peace, prosperity, and everything that you hope for, everything that you're trying to build, your visions, your dreams. This is the year for us to go after them. 2017 was awesome. Had a lot of amazing strides. Doing this full time now. That was something that was new. Just turned 33, so went full time at 33. I had a vision of a safety net, like on Patreon. Once I hit a certain number, which I'm way far away from that number, but I thought that when I hit this number, it could take place of the paycheck that I was getting working my full time job driving a truck. And I said, okay, if I stay committed and keep at it, I'll eventually get to this number where I'll be able to, make money off of doing what I love to do. But on the way to that number, I got let go from my job after 10 years of being a truck driver. I got let go, and we just felt the peace about it to just start pursuing what have been building for years, to doing this music thing, podcasting. I do graphic art and stuff on the side, so I'm able to make a little bit of money from a few different streams of income. So tried to go full time with it, and ever since I've been staying consistent with what I'm good at, doing the podcast, of doing teachings, sharing information online, doing music. And it's cool to be able to finally, after doing this for years, to finally be able to wake up and my job for the day, to go to work, is to write a song. You know what I'm saying? So I want to thank you guys for 2017. I want to thank you guys for 2018, 19, 20. As we move forward, man, you guys are behind me. This stuff is spreading like wildfire. Welcome all the new listeners. The podcast numbers are jumping. It's amazing. I'm blown away. All the messages that I get daily, people who are coming on board, people who are joining the Patreon community, putting their hard-earned money behind what I'm trying to build here, and supporting the podcast, because you guys know that the podcast is free to consume, but it's not free to produce. And you guys coming on board with the vision, I'm going to continue saying it from the bottom of my heart. Thank you guys. I'm going to give a shout out to some of the people who are supporting now, some of the people who just came on in the month of December, the last couple of days. It's been about 2 weeks since we did a show, but I'm going to give a quick shout out to Brett Stacy. What's up, brother? Thank you for coming on, supporting. Taylor B. What's up, Taylor? Taylor, man, thank you, because you've been supporting for some years now. I remember when I first came out with Awaken the Fire under LCOB, running with the Lost Children of Babylon. you were there from those days, 2012. It's 2018. You're still here. Thank you for being a day one. And there's many of you guys, man. Let me go down the list here. Matt Ladding, what's up, brethren? Yvonne, Anthony Menza, Travis Sabian. He always gets me saying his name wrong. Alexander Gleesman, Linda Merciado, Russ Mendler, Joshua Hogue, Brenda James, Jen Makita, Carl Rawson, David Morsalarus, Tarek Beebe, what's up, Tarek? Scott Beery, Brandon Lancaster, Dave Volkner, all of you guys who have come on in the month of December. Thank you guys from the bottom of my heart. I couldn't do this without you. Many things planned for 2018. I've been working on a lot of new music, and we're just trying to get some finishing touches up on a couple songs. And as soon as these songs are done, they're uploaded to Patreon. Patreon.com/TruthSeekah. So you guys who are supporting, I just uploaded a new song yesterday. It's called Divine, featuring myself in the voice. Go over there to check that out. All of these songs are going to be eventually on an album, maybe in a couple months, called Seer. That's what I'm working on. So I got a couple more tracks in me that I'm going to put out and then wrap it up for an album. And I think 2015 was the last time I officially put out a release. So thank you guys for supporting. You get a bunch of perks, rewards, all that stuff over there at patreon.com/TruthSeekah. Any level of giving, anywhere from $1, 25, 10, 5, whatever you could do, man. Thank you guys from the bottom of my heart. Enough of that. Enough of the news. We're going to get into the guests. We got an awesome show planned for you guys today. A friend of mine, he's been following my work for some years now, so I appreciate that. We're going to be talking to Vvitchboy, a.k.a. Jeshua Morningstar. What's up, my brother?
Yo, what's up?
What's going on? Good morning, man. It's early for you. You're still drinking your coffee, right?
Oh, no, it's gone. It's gone.
That's what's up, man. Welcome to the show, bro.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me.
We got a lot of stuff in common. Like I said, you've been supporting for a while. We've been friends on Facebook for a while, and we've been talking about eventually doing some stuff together because you're a hip-hop artist, and you're into a lot of esoteric themes, a lot of fantasy role-playing stuff, anime, stuff like that. I love all that stuff, mixing it in the music, man. Tell the people a little bit about yourself, about your music, and what you do.
All right. Yeah, my name's Vvitchboy. I'm from Asheville, North Carolina. As TruthSeekah said, I'm a hip-hop artist, and I draw a lot of inspiration from, like, the esoteric and magic. But at the same time, when I look at it, it's a lot of it, too, comes from, like, magic in the sense of, like, you know, Dungeons & Dragons, Final Fantasy. It's just looking at it like that, because in those like, video game cultures, in the anime, like, it's all, like, normalized. Like, I look at it like, you know, like science fiction has always been the forerunner for, you know, like, technology. Like, when you read Jules Verne, you know, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, he talked about the Nautilus before there were submarines. So in a lot of ways, I look at, like, you know, you look at, like, fantasy, like, you know, urban fantasy, sci-fi, whatever, and you just see people that have all of these abilities, and it's, like, normalized, though, and it's, you know, pretty much, like, your birthright as an existing being to be able to, like, express yourself in these different ways. And, you know, that just, like, really resonates with me.
I remember getting into, like, having this overwhelming fascination with the occult and witchcraft as a kid. I think a lot of it came from the movies, right? And then seeing people with these special abilities, you know. And I remember in high school getting a book that taught you to do pyrokinesis, to be able to shoot fire out of your hands, right? And I think, you know what I'm saying, maybe there was some of that stuff there from, like, watching the X-Men and seeing that and, like, resonating with it and hoping for it to be real, but maybe on some level that it is real and we don't know it. We're told that it's fantasy. We're told that it's make-believe, but there's occult sciences, people throughout history with abilities able to do stuff like we see, control the weather, heal themselves, all of this stuff that is mixed into these comics and then the movies, the fantasy. There's so much stuff in there, and it's deep esoteric occult stuff. We look at, like, the game, Warcraft, about the druids and the talismans and the runes and the special abilities and the powers. Like, there's some really deep information in some of these video games, man.
Oh, yeah. A personal favorite of mine, a little bit different, but there's a book series, and it's also a TV series. It's called The Magicians. It's by Lev Grossman. There's a trilogy. There's The Magicians, The Magician King, The Magician Land. They're my favorite book series, hand down, but there's a sci-fi television series called The Magicians that's about to start its 3rd season on the 10th, which is really cool. It's based on the book series, but when you read the books, it also goes into some pretty deep stuff. Like, it talks about pretty like deep magical theory. It talks about, like equivalent exchange. It kind of gets into like a little bit of alchemy, and it talks about how you cast your spells, but then you've got certain elements on you, or you have certain hand signals that go with it, and like hand gestures. And in the show, what they do actually is they make them all like cuts. They base it all off of like finger cutting. So if you're casting a spell, you might do something like some like some kind of thing.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know. It's very, like that. It's interesting stuff.
Yeah, like I know we got into Avatar: The Last Airbender, and all of the stuff that's in there, from like Eastern mysticism and yoga and alchemy and the chakra system. Like, there's a clip from that show that went viral showing you what chakras are and how they're blocked and opened and things like that. That's a viral clip from that cartoon, man. There's tons of stuff that's been there, but it's almost this weird thing, because it's like, oh, you've seen that in a movie, oh, you've seen that in a cartoon. It's like, no, this is ancient knowledge. This isn't something that a writer made up in a movie. Like, they're going in there and taking the esoteric knowledge and kind of making it plain, almost like what we do with the music as well, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's like, yeah, it's pretty cool. I mean, I like the ability to do that, and like, I like how like the messages can get out, because it's like things can be viral, right? Like, you can hear a song, right, like about like trapping, and then you feel like a drug lord, and like, I don't know, maybe you're on your way to your job,
You're
like
right, man.
Kinkos or something, but you're like selling drugs like one savage. So at the same time, the same song could go viral, and it could be you talking about Metatron's cube, or like the Merkaba or something, or like me talking about like using your aura to like heal yourself. You know what I mean? It can be just that little snippet. So I mean, you instantly have like whatever the person's into, like that information's like fed to them. They at least get like a taste of like the interest.
Yep. It's cool because I mean that's the whole persona of it, like the spirit behind the music and the message that you're trying to convey. It's pretty cool because like whenever we're talking about the music and people feeling like a drug lord or feeling like they're a gangster or a thug or whatever, and then listening to some of the stuff that we put out, people are having like spiritual encounters. And they feel more lighter. They feel more refreshed. They have this overwhelming fascination to explore the stuff we're talking about. They feel more connected on a spiritual level. So music is very powerful in painting this picture and almost creating your reality. It's used as just like a soundtrack, man. I can't even explain like the different messages that I get from people. And the only way I can look at it is like, there's been other people's music that's done that for me. You know what I'm saying? There it has been the Lost Children of Babylon albums and the Trevor Halls and the Conspirituality that I listened to, and their music took me to a new plane of existence with terms and ideas hidden within it. And then my music is still doing that for other people. It's insane to even fathom what's going on.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. Like, I mean, your music was probably like some of the first that I encountered that was so like blatant with it. You know what I mean? Like before, I ran across what your music. I'd listened to Zion I, Dead Prez. Definitely some like conscious hip hop, Most Def, Nas, all that. Like I listened to like what you might consider to be like conscious hip hop, and I like honestly like before that, like there were a few songs like my other project I do, which is called The Last Wordbenders. Really awesome stuff where we are even more so kind of plugged into the like kind of nerdy anime, K-pop, whatever, kind of like subculture. But, you know, some of the songs with that, you know, I'll talk about things like I'll mention like chakras, or I'll mention like a Merkaba or something. But other than that, I've never heard anyone else like blatantly be like, you know, the Kundalini Mystic Fire travel, you know, pathway. Never quite heard anyone quite say that. I'm just like, damn, you know? And like, it was good. And actually, it was a very important time that I ran across your music. Because like, honestly, it's yeah, I don't even remember how I found you. I think I was just looking up something on like Elohim or something, and then I think I found your song, "The Inner Reaches of Outer Space." Yeah. And then, what is this? And then I kind of went down a bit of a rabbit hole. And yeah, I just remember just sometimes listening to it and just being like, yeah, it's basically like the information that I've been looking for. You know, listening to like Esther Hicks and like listening to like, you know, Bashar and like reading Secret, The Flower of Life, and all that stuff, but it's like in a song, which is the best way that I learned. It's like literally the information's there. It's some like Southern chopper style spitting over like, like, I understand this, which makes me think if anybody did, I don't know, like someone did like a quantum physics rap, or someone did like even like, I don't know, like history rap or something, just throw some like Southern chopper shit on it, and like it's like, oh whoa, I know all about the Civil War now, you know what I mean? Like,
that's the weird thing that I kind of, you know what I'm saying, brought to the table with dealing with like LCLB and the Lost Children of Babylon. Is all their stuff is like East Coast stuff, and it sounds like Wu-Tang. And so here I come from the South, you know, having the slang or the draw that I have, and then I'm talking about esoteric mysticism in the Bible Belt, right? Over, I wouldn't say trap beats or crunk beats. I'll try to straight, you know what I'm saying, from that stuff. But it's bringing something totally different to the table. And I don't think there was anybody doing it at the time. Now, there was like some of the Beast Coast stuff, but that's still from New York, you know. But as far as doing it down here, there was so much like backlash, because I came from Christianity doing gospel rap, you know what I'm saying? And then I flipped it. We're talking about mysticism and chakras and traveling to outer space and out-of-body experiences and stuff, man. It's crazy. But as far as you, man, having, I mean, you're living in Asheville. I mean, that's kind of like I guess the go-to spot for the hippies and the festivals and stuff, man. Like, what kind of response are you getting from your music there?
To be honest with you, Asheville's a little bit weird. You know, it's kind of weird. Like, you're absolutely right. It's kind of like this hippie oasis. Like, everyone here is like a model or an actor or like a witch or something. You know, they're like a poly vegan. I don't know. Like, everyone's got some kind of like special snowflakeism going. And that's just, yeah. And that's just the thing about it, though, right? It's like, it's kind of like, you ever read a book called The Wizard of Earthsea by Ursula K. Le Guin? So it's like a children's book series. The main character, Sparrowhawk, basically goes on to become one of the greatest magicians on the Earth, or on the planet. But Earthsea, which is like the collective of islands, he's from this island called Knot, like G-N-O-T, where everyone there is a wizard. So it's literally like, on Knot, he's kind of a standout wizard, and people think he's cool. But when he goes like everywhere else, he's like this great like Sparrowhawk, the sage, and he's like the most powerful wizard like everyone knows. But back on Knot, it's like, oh yeah, my neighbor, he can like control the weather, and oh yeah, my other, you know. So with Asheville, there's so much music going on at all times. It's such a tourist-centric place that it's like there's constantly like, I don't know, you could probably throw a rock and like hit a musician or hit an artist or whatever. So when you're in Asheville and you're like, hey, I'm a rapper, or I'm
like, hey, me too.
Yeah, it's like, oh, me too. Or it's like, okay, cool. You kind of have to set yourself like apart from you know, the rabble, so to speak, because yeah, people will instantly either be like, yeah, that's cool, or so. You know, we've been doing with Lost Wordbenders. We've been doing like rap here since like 2013, and you know, it's been like, we've definitely built up a name to where it's like, if people ask about, oh, what are some good like actual rap groups, or who are some people I should hit up if I want to play a show,
or when you're on mushrooms, who can I listen to when I'm on mushrooms, what music? Yeah, and they're like, yeah, listen to Witchboy.
yeah our name comes up often. Now the Witchboy thing is actually a relatively new development. Okay. You know what I mean? I've been writing music since I was like 16. This past year, I've really been inspired to like make this project. You know what I mean? And I didn't necessarily make the project with like an astral agenda in mind, but I can see how it fits into that kind of agenda very well. And it was just literally kind of inspired to, you know, not only the name came to me, but then also just like the whole process of making the album. It was just like, okay, make this album. And I'm like, I mean, okay, I guess I'll do that. So I've been doing that. I've been putting out little snippets. I've been putting out like, I've basically just been stoking the fire. I'm about to release my first Vvitchboy project, like full-length Vvitchboy project. It'll be available on all the like local outlets, not local, to all the stores like Spotify, iTunes, Tidal, Bandcamp, all that on the 11th of January. So my album's called 111, and I'm dropping it on 111. So it's like, so yeah, I've just literally been just sprinkling all this hype for like maybe the last 3 or 4 months, and it's all gonna like culminate and like build on the 11th. And so I'm really interested to see what happens after that.
That's what's up, man. I'll definitely support it, and yeah, just send me a link. I'll promote it too. I remember I bought your last effort you put out, and I purchased that. It was good stuff. That's funny you say that about just like everywhere you go, there's a rapper, or everybody's an artist, or a fire dancer, or a belly dancer. Yep. Everybody is something eclectic or whatever, you know? So it's funny too, you say that about that book, about the person in the town where everyone's a wizard. And so they're just like a normal person. But then when they travel and go abroad, they're like the greatest magician, and let's learn from this guy. There's a scripture in the Bible, man, where Jesus kind of talks about that. He talks about like that a prophet is without honor in his hometown because everybody knows him. Like they kind of grew up with him, they came up with him. Like, what are you talking about? TruthSeekah, Derek? I know that guy. He's not a prophet. He's not this. He's not that. But then when you travel, like people, you're like venerated. People love you. They want it. You know what I'm saying? They want to hear from you. And it talks about when we're talking about magic, we're talking about, you know, Jesus about healing people and stuff like that, performing miracles. As far as the wizards and the witches, right? Jesus couldn't perform miracles in his hometown because they knew him. He couldn't, like, this is the Son of God incarnate or whatever. He couldn't even heal people and perform miracles in his hometown. Like, man, that's Jesus. Man, he's a carpenter, bro. I came up with this dude. I ate lunch with him last week. He's a regular dude. Why are you guys impressed with this guy? You know, but when you leave town, then there's a bunch of stuff about that. Even like you hear like Little Boosie just came out and was like, you got to leave your hometown because not only are you going to be kind of rendered powerless, but you put a target on your back. People get jealous. People want to kill you. You know what I'm saying? What's up, homie? And so I mean that's a big thing, man. If you having this target on your back for being good or for standing out, or you having what everybody else wants in your hometown, man.
Yeah, agree, dude. Yeah, I mean, I can relate to that. By the way, this is the homie K-Pop Kakashi.
What up?
Shalom, brother.
Last word benders.
Yeah, these guys got some good insight. I like what you're saying, man.
Thank you, sir.
Oh yeah, yeah, man. I mean, I feel that so hard because it's like so much of like, okay, we're talking about like healing. Like so much of that depends on like people's belief, right? Like with me, with my manifestation and my healing, part of my work right now is integrating my beliefs or integrating what I want on a level to where I believe it and I feel it with the same certainty as I feel and believe in like gravity. That's kind of one of my current like pursuits that I'm pursuing. So I think that, you know, we kind of need that across the board for, you know, for like a lot of things. And it's hard when you don't like fully believe. So going back to, okay, I'm in my hometown and I'm a prophet and I'm like, I'm going to heal you. And it's exactly what you said. It's like, what Yeshua, what? He makes coffee and shit. What? He's heal my chakra. Like, what? Get the fuck out of here. But then, you know, New York or something, and I like meet some people at a party, and then we're talking, and then I like basically say the same kind of stuff I would probably say anywhere else, or I share my music the same way I would anywhere else, and then it's like, oh my god, who are you? What? Oh.
Yep. That's good, man. There's a lot to be said about that, and I've definitely seen it coming up with like a bunch of rappers. Everybody's a rapper now. My daughter watches Logan Paul and on YouTube, and he's a rapper. Like everybody, like all the Disney kids are rappers. Like they all have rap songs and they're all viral, 15 million views on every video, and they can't rap. That's the thing. They're not rappers, but they can write a rhyme and do it. I guess that does make them a rapper, or somebody wrote it for them or whatever. But it's like it's oversaturated, especially like when I left like the whole Christian hip hop thing and got out of that. That was like nasty too, because that was oversaturated with everybody's a rapper. And then when in the Christian community, it gives you this false sense of accomplishment or this false sense of being good at what you do. Because we would go to a lot of churches and your uncle comes to church and he raps, and they let him get up there and do a song, and he sucks. He's not good at all. He's not called to do it. He has no gifting, no talent. And the whole church stands up and applauds him. Man, you did an awesome job. And that gives us, he comes off the stage and he's like, hey, I might have a future in this. You know what I'm saying? And scared to tell people the truth. And that was like so many people doing that, mixed with the people who are actually good, who actually studied, who actually put in the work. And when it comes to the spiritual hip hop, it's kind of becoming like that too now. You start seeing some of the forerunners getting mad. I've seen, when we're talking about LCOB, Lost Children of Babylon, Richard Raw, a.k.a. Tahuti Most, one of the best MCs. He's so eclectic and different with his style, the way he approaches it. But there are Christian rappers who emulate his style, and it's totally original. There was 4 grays in a hallway with a witch named Madame Blavatsky from ascending from the 12th planet. And he's like, he changes his voice, and it's like, it's totally unique. And then I find Christian rappers like who are like a spinoff of them copying their style. It's like, oh, it's so disgusting, man. I don't like it. And because I see people doing that to me now. Like people, I mean, I guess once you reach a certain level of, not fame, but I guess of notoriety, and a lot of people know who you are, it comes naturally because you influence people. They're listening to your music, and then they start writing. I mean, even some of the dudes I rap with here who I help produce, they're taking my bars and stuff. Oh, they're talking, you know what I'm saying? So it's this weird, muddy place, and it's hard for me because I'm totally about originality and starting something totally different. What I have is organic, and then to see other people copying it, and it's like, usually when that happens, I run. That's okay, y'all can have it. Let me go on to something else. I don't need to do that. You know what I'm saying? Because people start copying you, and maybe people who are copying you get more notoriety than you, and they're taking your stuff. There's all of these things when it comes to the table of, and the waters being muddied, and there being so many people doing what you do, you know?
That's real. I mean, wow, I never quite thought of it like that. Let me ask you this though. What do you think constitutes as like biting a style? Because I'll tell you a little bit about like kind of my journey through rap. You know, like I told you, I've been writing since I've been maybe like 16, 17, you know, I probably wrote my first rap song in high school. And like just over time, my style has like changed and evolved. Like I've gotten better, I've gotten more intricate. I would say that the most organic, like not even really that inspired by was some of the stuff I was writing maybe a few years ago. And it was very like, you know, I did a lot of like kind of fast flow stuff. I mean, I like Tech 9, so it wasn't like Tech 9 flows or anything, but it was just, I was inspired to like kind of have darker subject matter and spit faster. I would do that. But what I have actually learned more from watching other rappers who I like, both people who I know in person and people who I just see on the internet, and I'm like, whoa, that's cool, is just I sort of more get impressions from people. I don't necessarily go and, okay, whoa, I like the Underachievers, so I'm going to steal the Underachievers flow. It's more like, whoa, I like their like swag and their energy, and they're being informative, and they're talking about like higher consciousness, but then they're also like really like catchy, and I'm like, whoa, how do I capture that? So I kind of then on like, oh wait, and so I found a way to like be a more well-rounded artist really from watching other people, and even more like my friends around Asheville. So I've got a person who I collab with pretty regularly, Herb the Wizard. I think if you picked up my Ninjas and Witches EP that we dropped earlier, like during the fall or something, it had a song called Devil's Lettuce on it. I don't know if that's the one you heard, or if you...
I think it was.
It's the Devil's Lettuce. That was my first sort of like test on a Witchboy track, but it's me and Herb the Wizard, and he's totally someone who I've known for years, and he's got a very like catchy, like just super like swagged out style across the board. And just in working with him, I've gotten to where I could like, you know, I can keep my like intricacy of my flows, and I can keep my like content and lyricism, but I've learned how to be more relatable, and I've learned how to be more like, you know, just more like listenable, essentially, you know.
I would say the no is when you consciously do it, like as far as like biting a rapper, like, oh, let me take that and kind of, you know, take his rhyming scheme and take that, consciously do it that way, or take a punchline and consciously, okay, TruthSeekah said this, let me say it, you know, or let me say this. And when you consciously do it, and like, it was weird for me coming from the Christian scene because that's blatant. I mean, the Christian people copy, you know, in anybody in the mainstream who has success. And I remember people biting. What'd you say?
I was like, Toby Mac.
Toby. Speaking of Toby Mac, you know who I'm sitting here thinking you look like? Michael Tate, which is one of the other members of DC Talk.
I've got such a for you about that. You want to hear it? It's pretty funny.
Totally.
I have a background in Christianity as well, so I was pretty active in a United Methodist church. Like when I was in like middle school and high school, I got into like youth group, and so through that, I was exposed to like, you know, Grits,
Grits, yeah.
A bunch of like, honestly, went to Ichthus Festival. I've seen like a lot of Christian music. One time, Michael Tate came to Covenant Community United Methodist Church for like a concert, and I was for it. People, I swear to God. So also another thing about it, it was a predominantly white church.
They thought you were here.
Dude, yeah, I was walking in there. I'll go there. I'm in the youth group. I go there Sunday, right? And so I go in there, and they're like, "Whoa, are you Michael Tate?" Like so many like white people,
white kids, yeah.
Because I was just like, "Nah, dude." No. I mean, yeah, pretty funny.
That's hilarious, man. Yeah, I can see that, man. But yeah, just I mean, I would be listening to stuff in the Christian community. Hey, let me ask you this real quick. Do you have your hand over the speaker at all? Because it's got some weird feedback when I talk. Check.
All right, listen to that.
That's a little bit better, yeah. In like the Christian community, listening to like Lecrae, who is a big name, KB, Cannon, some of the guys who that they put out, you would hear these rhyming schemes, fast chopping stuff that sounds like Tech Nine, and then you're like, man, that's dope. And then I go listening to like Yellow Wolf or Tech Nine, and I'm like, wait, they're taking like the exact like complex rhyming schemes. So if I take you on top of the valley, the Hollywood Valley, we're looking over the alleyway, I make your balloon pop. That's something that Yellow Wolf said, and then like it's this really long, complex rhyming scheme that he does. And then a Christian rapper who's big, like, took the whole rhyming scheme. And the thing about the church realm is they don't know. They don't listen to Yellow Wolf. They don't listen to Tech Nine. They just listen to church music. You know what I'm saying? So this person is like making a good living, biting off of rappers that the other kids don't listen to. The church kids can't listen to, you know?
Yeah. I mean, that's definitely gross. I don't agree with it. But also, just as a precursor, I am not at all like Christian. I definitely admire like Jesus. I think like my favorite Bible verse is like what Jesus says, all these things I have done, you can do and greater.
Right.
Like I think like fair, yes, but I would not consider myself to be like a Christian. However, I can see this playing the devil's advocate, ironically playing the devil's advocate, playing the, you know, but I could say that it's like not as bad, I think, as a secular rapper doing it, because it's exactly what you said. It's a Christian rapper. They are basically like, okay, you and let's say, as far as they know, let's say they're earnest. Let's assume they're earnest in their beliefs, and so they believe that they are spreading the word of God to this group of their followers, and they're supplying these like wicked, awesome flows that are awesome and just lit to hear that their listeners wouldn't have access to otherwise. That's being a complete like misanthropist. That's me being super, I believe the best in everyone.
I'm sure that's what they believe when they're writing it, for real. I think they are doing it that way.
Yeah, but on the other hand, it's not something I would do. Like I would.
Like, they're like, I'm taking the devil's work and I'm beating them with it. Like I'm taking it from them and using it for God. That's what they do. Like, no, you're stealing, bro.
Like, no,
the devil didn't write that. Like a dude named Wayno, aka Yellow Wolf, wrote that. You didn't write that. Give him credit for it at least, man.
Yo, dude, when are we gonna feature with Yellow Wolf, TruthSeekah? We gotta get that TruthSeekah Wvitchboy Yellow Wolf track on.
I know, right? I know, right? I got some friends who did some work with him, and a buddy of mine was gonna get him on a track for. He said he'd do it for 1,000, so he was gonna get him on a track. But yeah, I got some Yellow Wolf stories. I probably can't share. I may do it on another podcast with someone who has a baby with Yellow Wolf's sister, put it that way. And I don't know if he's watching, but I'm supposed to get him on the podcast soon. I may let him tell some of those stories about Yellow Wolf. But as far as like the esoteric stuff, talking about all of the mysticism and stuff, if it's just a theory, it's one thing. If it's just fantasy, it's one thing. But like a lot of times, the you know what I'm saying, the veil is thin, the realms cross over. And especially talking about Asheville, man, all of the festivals and the hippies and the mushrooms and everything that goes on there, like it's also a hotbed for UFO activity. People who have seen UFOs and things like that. Have you ever had any alien encounters or UFO experiences?
The closest thing to that I would say is straight up alien, other than like dreams. I mean, dreams are like a whole other.
Yeah, exactly.
We can talk about that. But I mean, who hasn't had that? Right?
I know, right?
But the most alien thing that's happened. So there's a couple different things I could tell you. One involves a certain research chemical that people pretend is LSD, but isn't LSD, and it's called like DOX. It's like a research chemical. There's only been one time that I've taken it not knowing what it was, and this was during my more experimental phase. I've honestly like calmed down like a lot. Like 27
eating
years
random
old
stuff at parties, sure, why not?
Yeah, exactly. Like 27 now, I'm like very like, if I feel called to something, I'll hang out with it. But
yeah.
Other than that, I'm like, but before I was seeking this shit out like constantly, right? Because I was trying to like unlock some shit. I don't know. I was looking for something. But
Yeah.
So I was like, you know, every time I would do this chemical, specifically, there was a being that I would like mentally connect with for like all of 5 seconds, like every time. So first time, it's like, you know, I'm doing this. At one point during my trip, I'm in a room full of my friends. I connect with this really tall praying mantis thingy, and it's like kind of jerking and clicking, and I'm like, what the fuck was that, right? And then don't think about it for the rest of the trip. So it happened the next time I did that stuff too, because I ended up getting like a strip of it and just kind of hanging out with it for a while, and I'm like, whatever, it'll get you fucked up. And so let's see, there was another time I did it, same exact, at a certain point in the trip, same exact being, same exact thing, and I always forget about it until it happened. And so after that, I was thinking about it, and I was like, wow, what was that? And so for a while, I was thinking about things like, okay, it could be like a damn spirit animal. I was thinking like, is a praying mantis a spirit animal? What does this mean? It could be some kind of guide. Not like, you know, thinking about it. That after the third time that it happened, I wasn't even looking for this, but I ended up. Are you familiar with a YouTube speaker named Ted Montauk?
Okay.
Well, anyway, he does like a bunch of like UFOs.
I think so. Yeah. Montauk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he does like UFOs, you know, matrix control thing. But anyway, he had this whole thing about the control matrix, like around controlling the planet, essentially. He talked about how there are certain interdimensional beings and certain aliens who have a hand in mankind's like development or control or whatever. And so he was showing these illustrations, and you see the grays, and you're like, yeah, I know them. You see the reptilians, you're like, yeah, I know them. Then you see this 6-foot-tall praying mantis thing that looks exactly like what I've been seeing, you know. And I was like, what the fuck? You know, and then I did a little bit of research into it, and they're like mantis or like ancient mantises. They're apparently like scientists. They're involved in like the human hybridization program or some shit like that. If you believe in that kind of thing.
Yeah.
The probably said some direct alien.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what was the chemical? Does it have any kind of plants in it at all, or is it? I don't or think just a chemical.
So I think it's a synthetic it's a mescaline analog. I think it's called DOX.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know much about it, but yeah, there's a lot of people who, whether I know, I hear a lot of times people talk about taking salvia, the extract, and You're laughing when I say that. taking the salvia extract, and they actually talk about being approached by a woman who tells them not to smoke it. You know, in that realm, I've talked to several people who, when they do salvia, they lose control of their body, obviously, but then they see a woman that appears to them, and it's a spirit woman. It's with salvia that used to connect with the ancients. But if you watch the documentaries of people taking the salvia leaf and eating it or chewing on it, it's a total different encounter, total peaceful, blissful experience, more like maybe a stronger psilocybin, I'm not sure. But I thought that was very interesting, and different people were talking about working with different spirits behind the plants. Obviously, when we're talking about psilocybin mushrooms, I've had some amazing encounters with what I've ended up calling the golden teachers as far as a spirit, by taking the golden teacher mushrooms, So working with tobacco, that's why whenever you see the shamans, when they're doing clearings, they're always, even if they're smoking a cigar or a peace pipe, and they're not even inhaling it, they're just taking it and they're blowing the smoke to rid the area of spirits and things like that. But they use it to work with the plant teachers, so it's pretty interesting when you can consume a plant or a chemical, I guess for that matter, a synthetic being or whatever it is. We really don't know, but you're in touch with something far more intelligent than we are, something that's been here a lot longer,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's good. It's good things. I've definitely had some great experiences on the more natural medication. Like the mushrooms. I've had some very pretty much mostly positive experiences. I've had some really interesting things happen. As far as sensations, whoa. Sorry about that. Understandings that have been passed on. I don't think I have actually, I think I've only, and once again, sometimes the veil goes back up afterwards. So maybe I forget a lot of what happened during it. But the most profound experience I've had on psilocybin, it was kind of a conversation with something or someone. And at one point I'm tripping, and then I see this vision of a city. Let's say it's a city, and then it zooms out. It's an entire city. It zooms out. It's the planet. It zooms out. It's the universe. Zooms out again. It's a position. It's like a human shape sitting in a lotus, cross-leg position. And I was kind of okay, I get it. And I perceived at that moment that everything was just one being, one consciousness experiencing itself in different ways. And then I'm just all right, but why split yourself up like that? What's the point? And then it was kind of come closer. And so I come closer, and it was like a mirror, and I saw myself in that mirror, and it was just me. And then for literally a second, I perceived what it felt like to be literally the only thing in existence. And it was crushingly lonely and stressful, and there was nothing around me, and it was oh. And then I kind of spiraled into a bad trip after it, but it was weird. It was a bad trip from feeling literally everything is perfect. This is the spirit world. This is all just everything is eternal.
Isn't that weird?
Forever. And I was it's, and my ego just went nuts. I had brief ego death, and then my ego came back with a vengeance. It was no, wrong. And man, honestly, I look back on it and I regret how I reacted to it, because I feel
getting naked and running down the street.
no.
That was another time.
More trying to not trip, drinking a 40 afterward. I'm going to drink this 40 and try to lower my back down. That kind of shit. And I'm that. I don't think I would do that now. I think now I'd be yep, that's about right.
Get some understanding from it. Yeah.
Take me there. You know what I mean?
Well, let me ask you this about the bad trip when you felt that void that almost seems like when people talk about having the fear of death, of that when they die, that nothing exists, that they're all alone and it's just black, you don't exist anymore. It almost sounds like that kind of overwhelming fear, took over you. Was there a point when you felt that the time that you were going to be stuck there, in that place that you were, that place of loneliness, damn, this is it, I'm going to be here forever? Was there a feeling like that?
No, it was literally for a second, and it was more just the realization that everything that I thought, what was more crushing for me and for my ego, it was nothing to do with that fear. It was all about how, okay, everything that I think of, like you, my mom, my friends, the ground, everything being separate and living in this certain kind of like material world. And I've been getting into Eastern spirituality. I've been getting into meditation before this, but I still lived in the physical realm, and I was trying to live in the spiritual realm. This shit like yanked me purely into the spiritual realm, and it was like, it's all the spiritual realm. It's all just energy. Like your mom, my mom, my friends, my job. It's all just like energy. It's all just consciousness manifested in different areas, and it's nothing like I ever thought it was. And just that realization or that feeling just really like I said, my ego like did not take well to that.
Yeah. No, it gets weird because you get into a place where time doesn't exist anymore either.
Yeah.
And people feel like they're going to be stuck there, and they're like, am I dead? Like people think they've died and stuff because you're in a place because time doesn't exist. And then you go to a place where you feel it. There's no time. So a minute seems like 3 hours, like literally. It's overwhelming.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, time. There was no time. It was just, yep, we're still here. We're still, you know what I mean?
That's what I always talk about. Like a lot of people on LSD or I guess strong doses of psilocybin talk about thinking that they've died and they're in a state of purgatory, like waiting for God to judge them. Like I've heard stories of friends of mine who have been at parties and they all do acid and then they all feel like they died, and they turn on the TV and it's a preacher preaching about the end of the world and like, we're dead, man. We're dead. And they're waiting for God to judge them because you're in this weird place where you're like, we just exist. And it's kind of a cool thing because it's an overwhelming thing, but the message is to be in the moment. There is no time. And that's kind of what the golden teachers and the spirit teachers, they try to explain to you, like, don't wait. Like whatever you want to do, whatever's in your heart, to do it now. Don't wait for time. Just don't let time pass you by. Don't be on autopilot. Be in the now. Be in the moment. And there's this reiteration of that when you go into a mushroom experience or a deep Kundalini yoga experience. You kind of get that of like all is peace and all is now. The only moment we have is now. Be anxious for nothing, right? But seize the moment. And it's a strong, overwhelming urge in that realm, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with that.
Where you headed? To the bathroom? Or getting some more coffee?
No. Yeah.
Okay, so somebody wants to know, I know Josh Austin's asking, where's Asheville?
Asheville is in North Carolina. It's Western North Carolina. It's like maybe 3 hours from Charlotte.
Beautiful place, too. It really is.
You've been there before, TruthSeekah?
Oh, yeah.
Nice. Dude, you got to come up again. We got to get you like a show or something.
Definitely,
or just like hang
man.
out man.
Definitely. I know you've been busy too, man. So, dude, I'd definitely come up there and do some stuff with you.
Do stuff with Brian Divisions. What if like me, you, Brian Divisions? Because I introduced y'all during that like thing. Because you guys would vibe so hard. You guys would vibe like so hard, I think.
Yeah, I'm up for it, man. Definitely up for it. Hey, just let everybody know who's listening. The phone lines are open. If you want to call in and join the conversation, or if you have a question for Vvitchboy or myself, make sure that you go ahead and call in and let us know that you're in queue. The number is scrolling across the top of the screen as well as in the description. So if anybody wants to call, people hit me up all the time wanting to talk, wanting to hang out and stuff. And so I try to make myself available during or after the podcast. So make sure you guys call in. This is your opportunity to do it. So moving forward, man, what's as far as like videos and stuff for your music, is that going to be a big thing? I seen the the shoot that you did, the photo shoot. That was really interesting with that girl. Who's she?
My friend Gabriella. She is so cool. Like, she's one of my favorite people that exists. She's just this like very powerful being. She's a model. Like, she's awesome. She's seriously like the number one homie.
That's what's up, man. And as far as videos and stuff, man, you got any cool ideas floating around about that?
I've got so many. I mean, literally. So this is like, I finally feel like I'm in a place where like I can just consistently. I can consistently put in just like awesome. All right, I I can consistently like just put out like, you know, content. That's what I want. Like, this is what I do. Like, this is what I want. It's like with you, like, this is what I want to do, like, professionally.
Yeah.
You know, I'm a rapper, you know, I'm also a creator. I'm also like, I'm an artist. So I'm going to continually put out really cool shit. I just dropped 2 videos in December in preparation for the release of 111. I don't know if you had a chance to check out either of them yet, but one of them is called The Invocation.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. You put it on Facebook.
Yeah, it's the first first song on 111. So I put that out. I put out this AMV. It was like from an anime called Junie Tyson, but it was like an AMV for my song Purge Gang with my friend Bobby White.
Yeah.
And so I've put those out. They've been chilling. I've just got plans 2018. I want to make just continually put out videos. In particular, I've got another video. It's going to drop soon. It's in the post-production right now for my single Not Human. That's up on Spotify right now. So if you want to check out Spotify or iTunes or Tidal or whatever like that, look at Vvitchboy with 2 V's. I've got a single on there called Not Human, and there's going to be a video for that dropping soon. And then I'm about to start shooting a video for a few more of my tracks. So just, you know, stay tuned for all that.
That's what's up, man. Yeah, it's kind of at the point now where like you kind of have to do a video with your song. You can't just put out a cool song with a picture. You got to do some type of visual for it to get some kind of viral traction online and kind of give some life to it. So that's the thing that's about, like, kind of like, you know what I'm saying, moving forward with collabing and doing features with people. Like, the thing is, like, we got to be able to shoot videos too, you know?
Yeah. And the cool thing is, I mean, like, I'm all, like, let's say you and I were to do a collab. I'm all for, like, you know, meeting up, like going out, because I have family in Alabama. I'm all for, like, randomly just showing up and be like, what up, fool? But at the same time, I have video equipment. Like, we have video equipment here at my house.
Yeah.
We got nice, like, I think it's a Canon. We've got lighting fixtures. So basically, even if it came down to it and we had to do some, like, I don't know, you do your scene, I do my scene, and then we, like...
There's a bunch of that. We do that a lot, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what's up. We do have a caller here. I'll go ahead and take this call. We got a call from Southern California. Who we speaking with?
Hey, what's going on? It's Leo. What's going on, Derek?
Leo.
What's going on, Witchboy?
What up?
What's going on, guys? Hey, so I got a question. For you, Witchboy. Hey, so do you ever feel like something is attacking you or holding you back from really reaching your potential, whether it be people, psychic vampires, you know, negative energies, whatever you may conceptualize it as? And if so, what are some techniques you have to combat that? Some people use Palo Santo, some people pray, some people meditate. I guess you personally, what is your sacred place you go to combat that and find peace? And then my other question is, like, what's your angle, man? Like, what message are you trying to push so I can get to better know you? All right, brother? I'll take these questions off the air, and much love to you guys, okay?
All right, Leo. Shalom, brother.
All right. Later, brother. Much love.
Wow, those such good questions. I like those questions a lot. Those were 2 good questions. All right. I'll go ahead and dive into it. Psychic attacks. Yes, I've experienced them, but it's kind of a different angle, right? I never really feel like I'm being attacked and held back. Anytime I quote unquote am like psychically attacked or have been psychically attacked, it's generally like during sleep paralysis. I've been getting like sleep paralysis since I was like 5 years old. And there'll be times where I'm like, you know, in some kind of like half asleep daze or something, and I'll be sleep paralysis. And sometimes it can be good. Like sometimes I'll use it and I'll like project myself into a lucid dream, or sometimes I'll just meditate and it'll just be like really regenerating and awesome. But sometimes I'll feel fear, or I'll feel like a malevolent presence. Yeah. And there was a point where I would fight these entities. I got to where I can't move my body, but I can like imagine myself sitting up and like shooting lightning at them, and then they like go away or whatever. But I kind of reached this point where I realized in a lot of ways I'm just fighting myself. And this goes into the other part of that question where you say, do you ever feel like you're being held back or blocked? The reality is I recognize that if I am being attacked, if I am being held back from reaching my potential, it's because of something that I'm consenting to. It's because on some level, I am a vibrational match to that which is whatever. So, I got to think about, times I've had really bad sleep paralysis. What have I been doing? It happened a lot more when I was, kind of, I don't know, I'd fall asleep. Like I'd be like really like drunk or something and just happen to like fall asleep super unconscious. Or it might happen just a time in my life where I'm like kind of more vulnerable in that way. Rarely happens if I'm like, meditating. It rarely happens if I'm like keeping a generally high vibration. And if it does, in those states, I generally don't feel fear. I've been in situations where I felt weird presences, but because I was in like a good vibration, I was just chilling and I was just like, what's up? Or I was like, I'm sending love. I'm like, you are a part of this just like me. Here, let me remind you. And then I like up. You know what I mean? Like, I found that to be like a lot more effective. So then going to what you were saying about being held back, I'm currently part of my work right now, and this goes into the other question you asked me with what's my angle. My work right now, I'm kind of going back to basics in a lot of ways. Like my name is Vvitchboy. I'm all about magic. I'm all about like reaching my true potential. But I recognize that part of reaching my true potential is, working from like the ground level up, basically. So what I'm trying to do right now is like basically just make sure everything about me right now is like consistent and like with integrity. So if I talk about feeling like held back, I sometimes feel held back, but I understand that it's my own blockages that are up. I right now could be in a totally different place than I'm in, on both a really good side and both a really bad side. But if I'm looking at, okay, why aren't I in Germany right now? Why don't I have like, all of the Bitcoins and all the money in my account? Why aren't I like, I don't know, on this whole other level right now? I think that we have the ability to be like wherever we want to be, but I think that I'm aware, I can even feel it right now. There's like this wall of disbelief. There's like this wall of like, not quite yet, that's just there, and it's like a seal. And so part of my work right now is just kind of understanding that, kind of integrating it, kind of transfiguring that back into like the pure energy of like the universe, basically. It's basically like I'm learning how to like quantum physics, basically. And like that's part of my work, and that's part of my like life path, and part of the reason I'm here is that I'm going from this level, and this is the path I'm blazing. And then I'm illustrating that via my music. So my message being, yes, I have your message. If you listen to it, I'll talk about things like law of attraction. I'll talk about things like magic, but it's from a very, what I feel like it's like my point of view. Cause I literally kind of came from nothing in a lot of ways. Like I love my family. I love my parents, but I mean, really, if you like, I literally built myself up from, okay, being really poor when I was a kid, not knowing where I was going to get food from, being super socially awkward, at one point hating myself, feeling like I didn't have any friends, feeling like the world was like a horrible, unfair place, to a place where I'm like, I got into martial arts. Like I'm a martial arts instructor. I'm a rapper. I have albums you can get on Spotify and iTunes. I've traveled to play shows. And this is only like the beginning. My goal is to literally just get to that place of just unlimited abundance, which it's already here. Like we're already here, but it's to like manifest that directly in my life from where I was. And that's like my path. And then I'm illustrating it, and I'm, telling it and regaling all of you with it to inspire, to entertain, to whatever end that is. But that's about as far as like, that's my angle, as you might say.
Creativity, man. I think it's cool, and it speaks about spirituality, is that kind of like a level up that you have, and people who practice a spiritual life have, as far as when you're in a place of you don't know what to do next, or people are like, you know what I'm saying? What is my life's purpose? Why am I here? What direction am I headed? Like a lot of people are hopeless. They don't know their calling. They don't know why they're here. I guess they kind of feel like you felt some years ago, and they find themselves there. But through spiritual practice and through doing your own shadow work and dealing with your own stuff, you can now see the barriers that hold you back. And you're not denying there's things that you have to learn and things you have to get back. You see them plainly, and you know that it's only a testing or a different level that you have to approach it as. And it's here for a reason. You're able to kind of see the blocks that are there, or see the barriers, versus those who are just kind of in the dark, they can't see up from down, but having a spiritual practice lets you be able to see, I guess, the road ahead and where you're going. And I say that because I'm the same way. Like if I have something stagnant in my life, or I need to move to another level, and I can see the level there, many times I can see the obstacle. I can see is that I'm focusing on this too much. My ego's getting in the way. I'm becoming prideful. I'm not doing this. And once I do this, then I'll be able to freely move to the next level and this destiny or this calling that we're walking in. And that's really cool.
Yeah.
So as far as Joshua Hodge says, have you ever connected to the spirit realm through meditation? And I know you have, but what is a are you still there? You still there?
I'm still here. Let me plug my phone up real quick.
You're cool.
Gotta plug it up.
So have you ever connected to the spirit realm through meditation? And I know you have, but what are some of the techniques in which you do that? Maybe some of the early stuff for people who are just starting out, wanting to kind of, you know what I'm saying, give it a try.
What opened the door for me really nicely was so it was a couple of a two-pronged thing. One is my sifu, right? Like the person who taught me martial arts. Like I'm a instructor. I'm a black belt level in FMA, which is Filipino martial arts. So that's Eskrima and Kung Tao from the Philippines. My sifu Adi Parusadas was a monk, a brahmachari for 8 years, and so he knows a lot about mantra meditation and stuff. And so, this was at the beginning of me like seeking, probably when I was like 21, 22. So a few years ago, I asked him about meditation because, he'd been a monk. So like, why not ask this like, monk about, who like also has taught me like a lot about like martial arts and stuff, a little bit about spirituality. So he introduced me to like mantra meditation, and I started studying like a little bit of like Vedic scriptures and like, Hare Krishna Mahamantra, Ganesha like mantra, Lakshmi mantra, just basically like Sanskrit mantras that are meant to like raise your vibration, focus your mind. Because I am exceptionally ADD sometimes, and I mean I'm way better than I have ever been before. But this is I was just starting martial arts, really. Maybe I was a year or two in, and this is just like no spiritual practice or discipline. I would try to sit down and meditate, and it would just be like, nope, not happening. It feels like an hour, and I look at the clock, and it's been like 2 minutes, and I'm like, what? So the mantras were really helpful for me because I got these beads, and then you're able to do like around like 108 repetitions of of like your mantra, and then you do a round, and that's about good. And if you even just start with a daily practice of I'm gonna do 108 repetitions like of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, do that like 108 times a day, that makes a difference. And I think that that was a good starting point. And then I got to where I would just do it like a lot. And, you can definitely you connect to some pretty cool stuff. The thing I would watch out for though, with anything that you do is just, and this is just me telling you in advance, watch out for any dogmas. Like really just don't let yourself get bogged down by too much dogma. And going beyond that, the other thing that I found really helpful was so I had this teacher, Phoenix Roldan. I don't know how many of you listening have ever heard of Phoenix Roldan. He did some work with spirit science for a while though, and he's passed on. But he was a very he's like a teacher. He taught qigong, he taught breath work, all that. But I did a couple of workshops with him at some festivals when he came through Asheville, and one in particular he introduced me to was the Merkaba light body meditation, which is like a kind of Kundalini breathing variant. Yeah. And you can actually find there's a meditation by him that I still use to this day. If you go on YouTube and look up Phoenix Merkaba, and you'd spell Phoenix Pheonyx, and it's Camp Rockmont. It's from this festival called 3 Days of Light, like 3 or 4 years ago, that, you know, everyone's sitting outside, but it's a real time recording of this meditation. I'm not in the recording because I did the one the day after that, which was indoors, but I still use that one. And it's about like a 45-minute process, maybe an hour if you listen to his explanation beforehand. But doing that is powerful. That's probably the most powerful meditation I've done, because I can honestly say, probably physically speaking, at the end of it, if you do it and you're like, you know, into it and you can clear your head, your whole body will like buzz, like you will feel energy, you will like unlock some shit. And so, you know, I've done that, and I feel like that's been like very transformative. But once again, I just, you know, I am greatly caution against being enslaved to any kind of dogmas, because, and the reason I say that is because that's what happened to me. Like, you know, I went through my like ego phase, you know, with the spirituality, where I like, you know, I got into it like, oh yeah, I'm going to take some LSD and mushrooms and I'm going to meditate, and oh my God, I'm so woke. And, you know, then it became this matter of, I'm trying to become something better. I'm trying to upgrade myself. I'm doing this like Merkaba meditation and it's going to like help me ascend, or I'm chanting these like rounds and it's going to make me like better in some way or other. And it's just, I just think that that's a pitfall that it took me years to like kind of finally put aside and move past. So that's why I just say it all as a disclaimer, is just try to remain open and humble and just try to use it as more of an accelerant to your own growth, as opposed to being like this, okay, I'm doing it and now I'm better than like other people, or now I don't know, just ranting now. But
yeah, no, I mean, the dogma thing is really good, because in each one of these schools of thought, they feel like they own the terms, or they own the euphoric experience or encounter, right? That feeling of electricity that you felt through deep meditation and these chantings and stuff. People feel that at church every Sunday morning when they close their eyes, and they're essentially doing a mantra. Their eyes are closed, their hands are raised, and they're just repeating. I remember some of the songs were like, I love you, I love you, I love you. And they would sing that like 40 times. That's a mantra. And their eyes are closed. They're connecting with God above. And they're singing a mantra. And they're caught up in this blissful encounter. They're tingling. They're shaking. It's the same thing. So the church feels like they own the mantras, and they own that euphoric encounter with spirit. And then, you know, those of the, you know what I'm saying, the Buddhist or the Hindu traditions or whoever, they all feel like they own it and it's theirs, when it's not. This is a universal energy, and you can connect through it with it through many different paths, and it's all there. And so the terminology and stuff like that, people trip over and fall over. And I think I use a lot of it because it is dogma, and I love to kind of bust up your realm of thinking to make people think that like Christianity is the only religion that speaks in tongues, and that's totally not the case. It's called, you know what I'm saying,
glossolalia.
Yeah, and like everybody does it. Like all the religious ecstatic experiences would do it. That, you know, all the women falling on the ground, speaking in tongues and rolling. Like that's been practiced for years, man, by all types of religions, man.
Absolutely, like ancient Greek religion, all that shit. You know, so it's funny.
Worship.
There's like a bunch of weird, weird spirit stuff in my family. Like my great grandpa like practiced some voodoo. He like was pretty into that. He didn't personally, like, he was more of a user. He wasn't like any kind of like shaman or anything, but he would do really irresponsible shit and like be about to like go to jail, and then he would go up to Saluda. So my family's from like kind of the western North Carolina, like Marion, Hickory, kind of like the kind of more outlying areas, not Asheville. That's where most of my family's from. But yeah, my great grandpa, he would just do some like weird shit. Like he'd like drive without a license or drive drunk, and he'd be going to jail. And then he'd go up to Saluda, and he would see this like woman who was like some kind of like witch, and she would just give him like, you know, roots and charms and stuff to work. And he would do it. He would like follow her instructions. It'd be some stuff like, okay, chew on this root and then spit outside the courtroom before you go in. And then he'd do it, and they would just like let him go. They would be like, okay, you can. It's like, wait, what? And then, you know, and then on the other side, on my mom's side, my great great grandma, she actually was a minister, and she used to like cast out demons and shit. Like apparently, like They had like the churches, she would literally like cast demons out of people and stuff. And so, you know, and my family is very like predominantly Christian. Like they're really nice. You normally hear people who are maybe a little bit weird, like I might be considered to be, not having the best relationship with their family due to differences, but that's not really the case with me. Like my family is like very understanding and open. Good. But they're all, they're all very, very religious. So I would just say, as a whole, spirituality has always been a part of my life. So when I was a kid, I wanted to understand God. Like I used to want to be a preacher. Like when I was a kid, I wanted to be a preacher. I wanted to be a prophet more specifically, because I would read like the Old Testament.
And I'd want powers.
I'd want to be like Elijah, and I'd want to be, you know, any of those people.
Yeah, that's awesome, bro. Man, look, thanks for coming on, hanging out with me, bro. It's been good to connect with you. Go ahead and drop your links, man, and let everybody know where they can check out your music and what to type in on Facebook, all that good stuff.
Okay, yeah, no problem. As of right now, you can find my work as Vvitchboy, Vvitchboy. Find me on Facebook. Go ahead and drop a like. Go ahead and follow me on Spotify if you want. So far, there's one single. I've got an upcoming album dropping, my first solo album dropping on January 11th. It's called 111. It'll be available on all the stores. So yeah, just go ahead and subscribe or like that page, and you'll be updated. In the meantime, you can also check out my work with The Last Wordbenders. They got plenty of stuff on Spotify, iTunes, etc. TruthSeekah, thank you so much for having me on here.
Hey, thanks for hanging out with me, brother. It was finally good to connect with you, man. We'll have to do it again.
Yeah, totally.
All right, brother. Shalom, shalom. Peace.
Peace.
Witchboy, Jeshua Morningstar, Jochanel Foster. I hope I said his name right. He's on Facebook, everybody. Go in there and add him, and really cool guy. Yeah, just getting through some of these comments here, people hanging out in the chat. Let's see. Carolyn says, I've revved up my meditation practice over the long holiday break. I'm Bible-oriented. What a book. It's magical. But want to read other scriptures. Oh, yeah. I tell you what, Carolyn, once you have that foundation of the scriptures, of the core understanding about what the Bible teaches, spirituality, and those things, it's cool to actually venture off into some of the Vedic text or some of the lost books of the Bible, because it helps you understand the scriptures more. Like when you read these other realms of thinking, you get a sense of the bigger picture, and then it kind of destroys the dogma. You're like, hey, well, I'm in church and they tell me that this is the only way and this is it, when these people are saying the same exact thing. Like they're saying the same thing that we're saying, but you told me they're bad people. Wait a minute. They're saying the same thing. And so therefore it creates a schism, and you have to study and you have to get into it. And you have to look within yourself and wrestle like, okay, who's right? Who's wrong? You know what I'm saying? Just because I'm wrong doesn't mean you're right. So there's no such thing as just one person being right and like one person being wrong. And I think that a lot of truth is relative. It's truth to you. It works for you. I totally believe that. Because a lot of people aren't privy to some of the knowledge that many of you guys have researched and studied and experienced. There's stuff that we believe that people will never experience, and we don't hold them at fault for that, but we can't get offended that they don't vouch for our work, or they don't understand these universal principles we're talking about, or if we're talking about aliens. The aliens is a funny one with the church and stuff, you know what I'm saying? So that they don't understand that, they haven't experienced that. So, and that's good. Like for them just to take your word for it, never take my word for anything. Most people who are listening, you guys are listening because you've had an experience. You've had an encounter with something. Maybe with religion. You've had an encounter with religion. You've had an encounter with God. You've had an encounter with demons, angels, whatever, mushrooms, whatever the case is. Like everybody's here because they've touched the divine and they're trying to make sense of it. They want to kind of go forward with it. They want to take it to the next level. They want some rationale. They want to make sense of this stuff that they've been seeing since they were a kid. I was laying in bed last night just thinking about, like, why me? Like, what did I do as a kid to like welcome all of these crazy experiences that I had as a kid. And then it kind of begs to question, not what did I do, but what did my parents do? What were my parents involved in that different things were going on in the night in our house, and having these freaking crazy encounters as a kid. And then it gets into that my mom and my grandmother, they were I don't think they were deep into it, but they would burn candles for relationships. Like if they had a fallout with one of their best friends, like they would go and to the witchcraft store or the voodoo shop or from a friend, because everybody did it, and they would get candles. Like, hey girl, you got a blue candle? I need to get a blue candle from you. Like it was, I'm from New Orleans, and that, like in New Orleans, that was like a normal practice, and it was going on, like these different candles burning for energies to be released and stuff, and all kinds of spiritual encounter and spiritual experiences. And it's weird for me. So like the first thing I do when I still have encounters to this day in the night, 3 o'clock in the morning, whatever, I wake up, I have encounters with beings in the room or spirits or whatever. I go back to when I was a kid. The first thing I do is I go check my daughter. I go to my daughter's room, make sure she's okay. And that comes back from me as a kid having encounters in my room, scared to death, couldn't go to sleep. And some of it from like when I got older, watching scary movies and stuff like that. But as a little kid, before I knew any of this stuff, man, my parents being involved with different spirits and dealing with psychics and energy work and stuff like that, and drug use and parties and letting crazy people over at our house. I was talking to my daughter and wife the other day. I remember when I was a little bitty kid, man, I couldn't have been older than 5. I remember sitting at our coffee table, it was a kitchen table, really big kitchen table that my grandfather built, sitting there at a party talking to one of my parents' friends. It was an old man named Mr. Willie, and he lived in a houseboat. And if you guys are from the South, you know what a houseboat is. It's a floating house, and it could be a little shed, like a little shed that floats on the water, and you don't have to pay taxes and none of that stuff. You just live in it, right? And as long as you're not on the land. So there's a lot of people who live in those down here in the South. And actually, my mom lived in one for a while. But there was an old man at this party named Mr. Willie. I was sitting at the table talking to him, and I'm like 5 years old. Mid-conversation, I'm sitting there eating candy out of the candy dish, and this old man, he's just drunk out of his mind. I'm in mid-conversation. He just falls back from the table. He falls off the table, and he's like knocked out. I remember my dad and my uncles picking him up by his arms and his legs, walking him out. And this like drinking and partying, all of this stuff going on in our house, you know what I'm saying, when I was a little kid, and just the different spirits that were allowed to come in. And that could be dangerous for many reasons, letting people that you don't know around your kids or watch your kids or whatever the case is, man. And growing up, like I've totally experienced that stuff. So I always, I have encounters and stuff like that. I always check my daughter, man, make sure that she's okay, nothing's in there messing with her. Not to say that would ever happen, but I'm triggered. I go back to that when I was a kid, right? Carolyn says, it seems pretty universal because spirit is always the same. It sounds weird, maybe, but I actually have taken responsibility for pulling some negative patterns into my life by crying myself to sleep a lot as a kid and feeling sorry for myself all the time. Yeah, I could see that be true. Chris says, we all come from the same universal love. It's true. Carolyn says, I see God as a loving but some of impersonal spirit, no respecter of persons. Even if one is a kid, my household was hard, drinking and violence, but also love. We were very emotional. Yeah, because in the end, I mean, we're just a mixture of it all. Like to just say that it's only good stuff, or to be so protective. Like many people, and I'm probably one of them. I think our generation is one of them, really. Because we've had these crazy upbringings, whether it's being left at home by yourself to fend for yourself as a little kid, having bad things happen to you. Many of us in this generation are overly protective of our kids, where we don't let them do anything. We're just talking like my daughter's 13 at like, in this, I would just roam the neighborhood, roam the streets, roam the city as a little kid. We'd just go walking into the city and stuff, and we'd get lost. And for fun, I used to go to the hood. We'd go to the projects and just get lost in the middle of the projects and people trying to jump us and beat us up and all kind of stuff. And that's what we did as fun. Like, I don't know. It's a different time that we live in. I don't even know if times are worse. Like, I don't know if anything's changed from when I was a kid in the late 80s, early 90s, mid 90s to now. We feel like it has. We feel like everything's a lot darker, that people are wickeder, that people will kidnap your kid or take your kid or whatever the case is. But because this is not just me. It's so many people who talk about, like, when they were kids, they would just go in the woods all day and just roam through the woods with a machete, making trails and making tree houses and forts, just way in the woods, miles away at times, you know. I for some reason, I couldn't see letting my daughter go out and do that, and it was very very hard even to trust other people around my daughter. It's just weird, because you come up with this crazy life, but then I don't know if the kids suffer because of it. Now they can't experience life and do those things. Like, you know, it's weird to think about, guys. And I know I'm not alone in this. I've had this conversation with a lot of people who have kids, and I think it's like it's an overprotection, but you have to learn. And trust me, we've come a long way at this point. But still, though, I mean, there's no way she would just let my daughter just run run through the woods. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. It's crazy, man. So part of it's about being protective, and I don't know. I mean, what do you guys think? Are times worse now than it was in the 90s? Because I don't think it is. I think that technology has advanced so much that now we're just more conscious of it. I don't know if the murder rates, how much the murder rates have gone up. I know there's stats and stuff, but I think we're just more conscious of it. I think we're conscious of all the bad stuff now because it's filmed. Everybody has a smartphone. They do movies, television shows, news coverage on all this stuff, and we're just consumed with all this negativity and fear on the television and on the news and stuff. So I think we're just more conscious of it, and we're just more aware. I don't know if it's the numbers have changed that much to where it's like, oh, it's a big threat. Don't let your kids go in the woods now. You know, I don't know, man. I think it's just something that we're just overly protective about, because for me, like, my family, that's my heart. Like, that's all I have. It really is. And I would never want anyone to do anything to them or to hurt them or harm them. So I protect it as if it's my heart. Like, I would never let somebody take my heart and run through the woods with it. Like, I wouldn't, you know. And that's how I view it. I don't know if it's right or wrong, but it is a learning curve. But I know that was a tangent, but it's something to look into, because they say some of the coolest people, right? Look at me. Some of the coolest people are the people who have had these bad upbringings and had these crazy upbringings. It gives people personality, and versus the kids who have never seen anything. They feel entitled. They've had everything, you know what I'm saying, given to them on a silver spoon. Like, sometimes those people can be brats, or just they have this weird sense of entitlement. And for those who have been through a lot of resistance and stuff, I mean, the scriptures talk about like going through trials and having these different things that we go through. It builds character in us. And how many of us know those people who are just, they are characters, like they're just crazy? It's because they had a crazy past. Like, I remember, man, you know, my cousins and family members getting beat by your parents, like literally fight like your parent. You had to fight your parents. I remember, man, seeing my friends and cousins being choked out by their parents, holding them up against the wall, choking them out and stuff, and just crazy stuff, man, that we had to put up with as kids, man. So Chris Garner says, in schools, I think times are worse. With the added bullying from social media, schools have become much harder to navigate. My daughter has a hard time because she is a bit more innocent than the majority of the kids. Yeah, man. My daughter, we sent her to private school the first several years of her schooling, and then put her into public. And it was night and day. She was depressed. Like, it was just different. The kids are different. The parents, man. So she was depressed. She was going through that and being bullied and all that kind of stuff too. And we pulled her out and put her back in the schools that she was in, and it costs more money, and it's you have to do without, but I think it's worth it, and maybe that's also the form of sheltering your kids, but you don't want to throw your kids to the wolves either. I mean, come on, right? A lot of crazy stuff, and like I said, technology has come so far to where we were to where we are today. I don't know if I would have made it. Like, I was so crazy. If I had social media when I was a kid, and I'd be in trouble. I'd be in trouble for so many reasons. Because I know the person I used to be. And if technology had come as far as it did, I wouldn't be here, y'all. Where you guys are posting on Facebook, letting people know your every move. Hey, fixing to head to the store, headed to Disneyland with the kids, and you're sending pictures. Like, I would be in your house when you said that you were leaving and you're going on family vacation. I'd go to your house. I'd be in your house taking stuff. I mean, you know what I'm saying? And you're letting people know, and just, I guess, the need to be seen or whatever. Like, I wouldn't be here. Let's just put it that way. Joshua says, Derek, do you have any advice on meditation? I really want to start, but have had experiences with demonic in the past. I just want to be wise as I begin my journey. This is from Joshua. Yeah, man. So that's exactly what you said, though. You said you have had experiences with the demonic in the past. I guess I would ask, what were you doing in the past? Were you doing activities and things that catered to demonic influence? Because when I first got into spirituality and the occult and meditation and stuff, it was during those days of robbing people, stealing. Like, you know how I got my witchcraft books, my books on meditation? I stole them. I stole them from people, and I stole them from the store. And then I would try to meditate, and I would try to contact beings. Oh, I contacted beings, okay. Whatever you're doing, whatever level that you're vibrating at, those are the beings that you're going to connect with first. And if you're living a negative lifestyle, ripping people off, lying, manipulating people, you got to deal with those entities in some shape, form, or fashion. Whether you transcend them, whether, like, you have to deal with them, or they will deal with you. So early on, I dealt with them. I had demonic possession. I tried to go into those realms unknowingly with doing all the bad stuff that I was doing. I got possessed, man. I went insane. I was going crazy dealing with those demons in those realms. And it had me for years not wanting I didn't want to be around anything that would be similar to what I came out of. Like, when I came out of that stuff and I got into church and got with Jesus, right? Like, I couldn't even be around incense, people burning incense, because it reminded me of where I came from, and where I came from was, I ended up getting possessed by demons. So with everything we're talking about, with meditation, with prayer, astral travel, whatever the case is, mushrooms, whatever, it's all about the intention and doing your own spiritual work. Doing your own spiritual work. But you have, like, whatever level that you're vibrating at, which means whatever you're doing, you're going to be there. And so I'm working on a bunch of writings right now. I'm working on a course and some books and stuff like that I want to get out there. And I'm addressing a lot of these spirits and a lot of these things on the other side and how they interact. And with all of the interest in it, and even in my music, where I talk about it very nonchalantly, like it's an everyday experience. I don't travel the ethers every day. Most days I'm hanging out with family doing normal stuff. That's not an everyday thing. So the way we paint it in the music and we talk about it and we do it in videos, it's very much a part of my life, my friend's life, my family. But there is also like the warning to be careful, to be careful. And, you know, and it's all about transcending spiritually. But if you're not doing that stuff, if you're not manipulating people and doing all this bad stuff, I wouldn't fear anything. I'd say that Jesus says perfect love casts out all fear. I'd say let that be your truth when you go into meditation, and clothe yourself with that, with the mind of Christ. Enter in your meditation with worship music. Play some Bethel music, some beautiful worship music. Play that. Go into the spirit realm with thanksgiving, with praise, with adoration to your Father. And then there's no way nothing can touch you. Ask God, set the intention, be clothed with the white light of the Holy Spirit,